Jack is an interesting, albeit weird addition. At the start of the game, you can decide whether to include him in your playthrough. If you do, he's there on every mission without taking up a squad slot. Yeah, the game is noticeably easier with him around, but it's also more fun, so I'm not complaining. At least Jack was a stable presence in the squad, someone I could actually get attached to, because that's definitely not the case for most of the other characters. I really didn't feel connected to the majority of the characters. In XCOM, I would customize every single soldier, name them, create backstories, play favorites, and be genuinely heartbroken if something bad happened to them. Here, none of that. Part of the reason is the limited customization options and the flawed loadout system. But more than anything, it's because there's just no reason to get attached. The game constantly throws new recruits at you, and they're often higher level than your existing squad. Why would I bother naming or customizing my level 3 heavy, when in a few hours I'll be getting a new level 5 heavy? Another factor is the skill tree system, which for the first half of the game doesn't offer much distinction between classes. Sure, you've got your supports who can chainsaw enemies, scouts who go invisible, and heavies with machine guns. But in the grand scheme of things, the distinctions aren't that dramatic. The skill trees do get more interesting later in the game, but then you run into another problem: unbalanced skills. Some skills are just objectively better than others. For instance, you can choose between a 25% chance of gaining action point on a critical kill or a nearly guaranteed 2 action points. Or how about the final skill of the tree that rewards you for destroying e-holes? Cool, except there are maybe 10 e-holes in the entire 30-hour game, most of which are present before you ever can get the skill. Stuff like that makes branching out and experimenting with your characters feel a bit meaningless, since some will just end up considerably weaker than others. And where's the fun in that? Because of these issues and the lack of attachment, I found myself indifferent to most of the characters, except for the main story crew. They're with you for most of the game, can die, and are central to the story, showing up in cutscenes and experiencing actual character development.
Okay, let's do this.
I just ended up using them whenever possible and reserved the most interesting builds for them. And honestly, that ended up being way more fun than I expected.
Call it a mercy kill.
Take Sid for example. I stacked every damage reduction and self-healing ability I could find, turning him into an absolute tank. He literally had over 100% damage reduction for the first hit each turn, meaning he took no damage.
Gotta keep away from those legs.
And even when he did take a hit, he'd just heal himself. Totally nuts. Then there's Gabe Diaz, the protagonist. He became a Chainsaw Massacre expert. With an instant kill ability on a 2-turn cooldown that refunded an action point and healed the team after every kill, he was a one-man wrecking crew. Also, thanks to this, he constantly got extra action points, since he didn't technically fire a weapon. By mid-game, the developers must have realized this was a bit too strong, so they introduced enemies with attacks of opportunity and poison clouds that debuff anyone nearby after death. These mechanics make charging in with a chainsaw riskier, but it didn't stop me, just required a little more strategy. And then there's Michaela Dorn, the sniper.
Find your own ride, assholes.
I love snipers in games like this. There's something incredibly satisfying about having high accuracy and picking enemies off from afar. But Michaela takes things to the next level. Not only is she the most accurate and deadliest character on the team, but she's also the best at stacking action points. With 3 separate abilities to gain or refund AP, plus the ability to reload for free, Michaela could easily rack up 10 actions in a single turn. At that point, the battlefield was less of a fight and more of a shooting gallery. With enemy heads being the watermelons, Michaela easily just pops. Near the end of the game, you get another main character, Reyna, a scout. I'd mostly ignored scouts, because their shotguns felt weak compared to other weapons, like sniper rifles. But then I realized it wasn't about the weapons, it was about explosives. Reyna became a grenade throwing specialist, with abilities that let her lob huge damage grenades every turn, and place proximity mines. Forget shotguns, when you can one-shot most enemies with a grenade, there's no need for anything else.
Drag out.
2 more.
That wraps up this slice of my Gears Tactics review. Thanks so much for watching. Next time I'll be diving into topics like: and beneath the top-down gameplay lies an intriguing story. The game is packed with dialogue and cutscenes, but it does enhance and expand the lore in a meaningful way. His character arc is compelling. It might be a tactics game, but it's also a Gears game through and through. So if that sounds interesting, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to like and comment. I'd love to hear from you, and it really helps the channel out. Catch you in the next slice, or feel free to check out any of my previous videos in the meantime.